Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar this morning about the early path to WA Grant. We are so excited to see you all here and have some great sharing and questions and share about this new path to the Washington College Grant. Before we do that, my name is Sarah Weiss. I serve as the Director of College Access Initiatives at the Washington Student Achievement Council. I'm joined by colleagues from the College Access team as well as colleagues from the Student Financial Assistance team who will introduce themselves as they present as well. One housekeeping note, in addition to what Christina said, is we are going to be taking, questions. Please use the chat for any questions that you have. We'll take those throughout the presentation at different various breaking points and got folks who can answer them in the chat as well. So again, just so excited to have you all here this morning to share more about the early path to WA Grant. If I could have the next slide, please. Perfect. So before we jump into the specifics of this pathway, I want to share a little bit about who is WASAC, or the Washington Student Achievement Council, to make sure everyone's got a sense of kind of who we are as a state agency, who the council is, who's administering this new pathway to the WA Grant. Next slide, please. So WASAC is guided by a 10-member council. You'll see their lovely faces and titles and where they're from here. This council represents community members, our sectors of higher education and K-12, and really guides the work of the agency as a whole. And so I wanted to be sure to introduce you to them as well as the agency. On the next slide, please. So the Washington Student Achievement Council, or WASAC, as you'll hear me refer to us most likely, our goals as an agency, we are a state agency, a cabinet-level agency in the governor's cabinet, is to advance educational opportunities and attainment for students from all ages in Washington state. We do that by leading planning to improve educational coordination, transition points from middle school to high school to post-secondary, back into post-secondary education. We support Washingtonians through financial aid programs and administering those, which we're here to talk about, which is so exciting. We also administer the state's College 529 or College Savings Program and support services. And really, we advocate as a whole with all of this work for the economic, social, and civic benefits of post-secondary education, to spread the love and spread the word about the agency's work as well as our focus areas. On the right, you'll see a graphic that talks about kind of the focus areas of our work broken into four main buckets, with equity being at the center of all of them. If I could have the next slide, please. So today, what we're going to be talking about is, first and foremost, though, I'd love to know who is in the audience today. Kelly got us started from Northport High School of introducing themselves, but if you're willing to share your name or what school you're from or where you're from, we'd love to always get a sense of who's joined us today, and so we can kind of see who our partners are who have decided to spend the morning with us. So just so excited again to have you all here today. With that, we're going to also be talking an overview of the Washington College Grant, or WA Grant, in general, kind of a refresh and reminder of that, as well as we're going to be focusing primarily on the early path to WA Grant. We're going to be talking about eligibility, importance of filing a FAFSA or WASFA still for these students, as well as what's called the BEAM application for students. And then we will also do some question and answer, as I mentioned, and then really try and get folks in to think about how to share this information and pass it on. So that's what we've got planned for the next 50 or so minutes, and just so glad you're here with us this morning. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, WA Grant, or Washington College Grant, is where we're going to start. So I'll take the next slide. Just give you lovely pictures of the state so everyone remembers what we're talking about and where we're located. So what is WA Grant? It's one of the largest state financial aid programs in the United States. This means it's the most generous. It's one of the most equitable programs. Means basically more money for more students for more types of education. Students can use WA Grant funds at around 60 institutions in Washington state, including community and technical colleges, four-year publics, four-year private institutions, and for some registered apprenticeships as well. So very flexible. Again, not solely designed for high school students, so the pathway we are going to be talking about is, but in broad scope, the WA grant is open to all students who have not yet completed a bachelor's degree and meet program requirements. So you can find more information on wagrant.org. I'll take the next slide, please. So just some quick details. As I mentioned, it's one of the most generous programs in the country. Um, Families are eligible for more financial aid than they've ever been able to access in Washington. Award amounts do vary based on income or family side and family side size and the school or program that a student chooses to attend. It's basically based on tuition and fees, and so that's where that kind of difference comes from. And so on the chart here, you can kind of get a sense of the ranges of award eligibility figures. This does change every year, and so it's important to be kept up to date. And you can do that again at wagrant.org. But it allows for, again, a lot of flexibility for students in what they're pursuing. Next slide, please. So early path to WA grant, what everybody's here and so excited to learn about, which I'm so glad to see nearly 60 people here. The early path to WA grant is really designed to reduce initial barriers for completing a financial aid application. It's a design to flip kind of the order. There are tons of reasons, and we're going to talk about those reasons, that a student should complete a FAFSA or a WASFA application. But the early path to WA grant is designed to reduce that initial barrier of understanding that the guarantee of WA grant is available before they complete a financial aid application. And so, yeah, next slide, please. Great. So this new pathway to accessing WA grant was initiated in 2024 by House Bill 2214, who those of you who have a bingo card on bill numbers. It expanded automatic Washington College Grant income eligibility for students who receive SNAP or FAP benefit programs in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, beginning this academic year. So this academic year is really kind of a pilot year, which we're going to talk more about what that means in a few slides. But this is the gist of what it means, what the bill allows for. So I'll take the next slide, please. And what that means is that this is still WA grant. Early path to WA grant is still WA grant funding. It's just a different way to become income eligible than with a FAFSA or a WASFA. And it's still important to do FAFSA and WASFA, and we're going to talk about why in a minute. But this pathway is still important to do a FAFSA or WASFA, but it's WA grant funds, just a different way to access them. Next slide, please. So we've begun this academic year with a pilot. This pathway is available to high school seniors of the graduating class of 2026 for next academic year. And we'll talk about some of the additional program requirements in a moment. But seniors will receive one academic year, next academic year, of WA grant eligibility post-graduation. So they need to get it, they have it for that next academic year. Next year, the pathway will expand to students in grades 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to kind of get that guarantee language out to earlier students who may be in a household receiving those public benefits that were previously mentioned. So that will begin next year. But this year, we're really focusing on our seniors in wanting to ensure that they know about and are able to access WA grant funding. Next slide, please. So who qualifies? A reminder for this academic year, the pilot year, it's graduating seniors for the class of 2026, current 12th graders, who are members of an assistance family unit or family household that receive benefits under Washington Basic Food Program, also known as SNAP, or the Washington Food Assistance Program, FAP. So families, a student has to be a member of a household or family receiving benefits under one of those programs. And secondly, they will need to submit documentation via the BEAM platform. BEAM is going to be something you'll want to take away from this conversation. My colleague Gabi is going to share more about the Beam platform in a little bit, but those are kind of the two qualifications. They have to provide documentation that verifies the first piece on there that they're receiving benefits through a household. There's through a household for SNAP or FAP. Next slide, please. So the early path to WA Grant program requirements, this is at a high level. I'm going to have several slides here that are going to kind of break into different levels of eligibility. But they have to, again, as I mentioned, demonstrate financial need by receiving SNAP or FAP in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. Again, for this pilot year, we're focusing on 12th grade students and getting them the information. They must graduate from a Washington high school or homeschool program. GEDs are ineligible. Though a student who has a GED could certainly file the FAFSA or the WASFA and access WA Grant. This is just for the early path to WA Grant components. And it's eligible for the academic year following high school graduation. Thank you. So a student, there are other requirements than just income qualification for WA Grant. And so a student must also be a resident of the state of Washington. They must, as we have noted, demonstrate that financial need by SNAP or FAP enrollment. They must have earned a high school diploma and enroll in college within that first year after high school graduation that fall. And so they also must attend approved institution or apprenticeship program. So that's not just funds directly going to the student. They'll receive it through their institution, their college. Not be pursuing a degree in theology, not be in default or owe repayment or on any other state financial aid program, and not have already earned a bachelor's degree or higher. Again, I know some of those are more unlikely for our high school senior population, but really just want to be clear kind of the general requirements of financial aid access. Next slide, please. So I want to pause for a moment and say, you know, the goal with the early path to WA Grant is to allow students to know that they are eligible to receive, that they will get WA Grant funding before they do FAFSA or WASFA. And so the goal is to not have them not do a FAFSA or a WASFA. The conversation could be, look, you've got this WA Grant award now. Let's get the FAFSA or WASFA done to help students, to help you maximize your options, including federal aid, like the Pell Grant, additional state programs like College Bound if they're a College Bound student, or additional institutional financial aid too. Many colleges and universities will require a FAFSA or a WASFA for their own scholarships. And so it's not meant to be a don't do a FAFSA or a WASFA. It's meant to be a catalyst to encourage someone to do the FAFSA or WASFA to get even more money for their post-secondary, post-high school plans that they want to pursue. And so I want to remind everybody that we have our website, wasac.wa.gov/apply. This website will help students navigate the application process for the FAFSA or the WASFA. It will allow them to help them figure out which application they should complete if they're unsure. So it's got lots of resources. It's also available it's available in English and Spanish, and can really help students and families through the application process. And so again, just for a quick note, I just really want to highlight this point that because a student qualifies for WA Grant, early path to WA Grant, that we still want them to do a FAFSA or WASFA application to ensure that they are eligible for maximum aid opportunities. So I'm going to pause here for a moment. I see that there's a question in the chat, and so I want to address that for sure around College Bound Scholarship. And so College Bound is absolutely still a program. It is here to support students who signed up or who are auto-enrolled at this point in middle school and meet the program requirements. It's that topper on top of usually on top of a WA Grant award to ensure that maximum college bound amount is funded, that commitment that was made to those students. Where I think, Jennifer, you may be asking about college bound is that for certain institutions, our independent colleges and our private for-profit institutions, those amounts are being reduced or eliminated beginning in 27, 28, I believe. Please correct me, Gabi or Carly, if I got that mixed up, but that date. But so College Bound is still around. It can go to public schools, the maximum amount, but there will be reduced amounts for some institutions beginning next year. Let's see. Yeah,
Thank you
so
for.
absolutely, Mark. Oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Rochelle.
I was going to say there's a few more
Yeah,
questions. I do you want me to read them out to you, or do you see them, or
I see them, and I think we've got some time, so I'll just kind of walk through them.
okay?
Thanks, Rochelle. I see the next question about who verifies in the family if the family has submitted their SNAP or FAP application via Beam. Verification is needed, so Gabi will talk more about in the next few slides about how that submission process works. But there is a staff folks in the Student Financial Assistance Division that will be supporting and reviewing those applications to ensure that they're matching and verified. So that's through the Beam platform. Okay, so another college bound question. And so this again is different than college bound. This is to the Washington College Grant. But who But for WA grant, or sorry, for College Bound, with the all students getting free and reduced price lunch, WASAC will be working with OSPI to determine how best to get the information for eligible students. It's my understanding that students will still be needing to show eligibility, or schools will still need to show eligibility of their student populations. That's done through a variety of ways. Through direct certification with SNAP eligibility or other federal or state programs, as well as what's called the SNEEB form, which many of you may be familiar with. That is a self-reported documentation as well. So we'll have more information on college-bound auto enrollment based on that universal free meals program later in the fall. And I see the question about the WASAC portal. Um, we will absolutely be looking at what we're able to include in the portal. The thing though that we don't know who's eligible specifically for this program at WASAC due to some data sharing work we're still working on with DSHS or OSPI. But right now, that's why that students need to self-verify through the Beam platform. So we aren't able to share that information currently via the WASAC portal. So great question, Dawn. Yes, if they meet the other requirements of WA grant, residency, things like that, and they do not do a FAFSA, they could still get WA grant, but that would likely be only what they get in the aid programs from Washington State because they don't have the other information to do it. So it's not required for the early pathway to WA grant, but we're really still wanting to encourage them so that they can get their additional aid that they're eligible for. Yeah, so again, the difference between this and College Bound is that this is um, for students who are in SNAP and FAP households later in their school years. So, for example, let's say a College Bound student, a College Bound student is in auto enrolled in seventh or eighth grade, but a student moves to Washington later in the years of high school and they couldn't get signed up for College Bound. This is an early pathway for them as one example. College-bound funding is also higher than WA grant funding. It's that topper to cover the college-bound commitment, which is a little bit higher than the WA grant funding. And so, but most of students' college-bound commitment of funding on an award letter actually does come from Washington College Grant. It's just that little extra top amount that comes from the College Bound program. And again, the big focus with College Bound is starting even earlier than this early path to WA grant and connecting students with the hope that they have, funding opportunities in middle school so they don't discount it even further. So I think I got all the questions. Oh, So with this early path to WA grant, students would need, if they're in a SNAP household or a FAP, so if their households receiving benefits through one of those public programs, they would need to submit documentation from the through the Beam platform, which you're going to see some examples of what that looks like, how to do that verification um, in a moment. And then the FAFSA would get them even more aid. So it's they don't have to do the FAFSA to get WA grant if they're through this pathway, but if they do the FAFSA, they're likely to get more aid. I hope that answers the question. Here's a question from Diana. I'm wondering if Gabi or Shannon or Carly would be able to answer that specifically on the student is on SNAP their sophomore year, but is no longer available on it later down the road. You're muted, Gabi.
Thank you. Okay, so if they are no longer on, okay, so right now it's this, we're just seniors for this pilot year. So there are still some details being worked out for when it's expanded to the sophomores and juniors. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't qualify for WA grant. All, all, most of these students are going to be income eligible based on their income status. And so they will qualify for WA grant when they do their FAFSA or WASFA. The benefit for this program is that they don't have to do the FAFSA or WASFA, and they will still get the Maximum Washington College grant. As for getting the guaranteed for 1 year of not having to do the FAFSA right after graduation, if they qualify, I'm generalizing and hoping that this is where we're going to land. But if they do verify it in their junior year or their sophomore year, they should still be qualified for 1 year after they graduate high school. And Shannon or Carly, if I misspoke, please chime in.
Great. Thanks, Gabi, for jumping on. Great. So another question in the chat that I'm happy to address is yes, we are working to do a notification out to students and families whose contact information that we have. And we will also be doing a communication out via DSHS likely to families. I will, though, commit and promise to you that the messaging of these mailers and trifolds, etc., ties that hits the FAFSA and WASFA message pretty hard, right? Because we don't want our FAFSA completion numbers to go down because that means students are losing access to other forms of aid as well. And so that messaging is very tight, very clear to students that that is their second step once they are guaranteed the income eligibility for WA grant. And so um, that messaging will definitely be there. And we're going to share a link to some of the resources at the end of the presentation that are available as well. Shannon, do you want to say something? I saw you were having trouble coming off mute. Shannon's our Director of Student Financial Assistance.
Hey, Sarah, I'm not sure
Yep.
Shannon wanted to say something, and I'm sorry, Shannon, if you do, go ahead. There is one, if we have time, there is one more comment in the chat that I think might be good to address. Just to clarify how this path works versus the regular WA grant path with the FAFSA or WASFA. Someone said it would be so much easier to have the WA grant feed off the information from the FAFSA rather than having to jump through this extra hoop. So if we can clarify that would be great. Thank you.
I can do that.
Sure.
Jump in
Yeah,
here.
great, Shannon. Thanks.
So this program after the pilot year is really meant to allow students to see early eligibility. So especially for our 10th and 11th grade students, we want to be able to show students that, hey, there is this opportunity for funding. You can complete this application early and know you're already income eligible without ever filing a FAFSA. But we want you to we're going to continue to encourage students to complete the FAFSA or the WASPA to determine their maximum eligibility for aid. This is just giving students a little bit of a leg up earlier to determine the income eligibility for this program. Yes, we will still continue to use the FAFSA and WASPA in order to make the WA grant determinations. That process is not changing. This is just an addition so that a little bit earlier students will be able to find out if they're eligible for the WA grant process. And the only other point I wanted to make was Gabi is absolutely correct. So if a 10th grader is eligible, but they're not eligible in grades 11th and 12th grade, they still get that income eligibility in that first year of eligibility. So that doesn't change based on that. They'll continue to have that year of eligibility. So she was absolutely correct on that.
Thank you. And can I just add one more thing to the previous question? One of the other benefits to this program is even if they do a FAFSA or WASPA, which we do want them to do, but if they don't, either way, they will receive an offer of a maximum Washington College grant award amount, regardless of what their median family income level shows. So for the Washington College grant, currently, if you do a FAFSA or WASPA, the minimum median family income is 60%. And so we will have students who file FAFSAs or WASPAs whose income levels could be 65%, and then they wouldn't get the maximum Washington College grant. Under this program, those students are still guaranteed a maximum Washington College grant, regardless of what their median family income shows. So that is one other benefit of this pathway.
Thanks, Gabi and Shannon. Appreciate the additional info and context. Always great to hear from you both. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, so I think I'm going to hand it over to you, Gabi.
Sorry, just real quick. We did have someone ask for a repeat of an answer to a question. Carly, if you don't mind just answering that in the chat so that we can save time because it was already answered live. Do you mind doing that, please?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you. That way everybody can see it too. So it'll be right there for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Well, thank you for having me today. I'm Gabrielle Matul-Wurst. I go by Gabi. I am an associate director in the student financial assistance team here at WASAC. And we're very excited to be presenting to you today. I'm going to be going over the application process through the BEAM platform, which is the Early Path student platform where they will be verifying their information. So if we could go to the first slide, please. Perfect. So the students are going to be asked, and this is where we need all of your help in encouraging students and helping them through this process. As Sarah mentioned, we don't currently have any data share agreements with OSPI or DSHS to be able to identify these students. And so in order for us to reach them and to verify that they are eligible for this early path, they need to self-identify. And so they will be needing to upload some documents into this portal for us to be able to identify them and to qualify for them for the program. And so, oh, sorry, could you go back, please? Okay, so the application is a really simple process. It is located, we have the URL there. It's at wasac.wa.gov, WCG-path. And the first screen they're going to see is this applicant sign in. And what we want to do is to have the student enter this. they will get an email. We want them to enter in the email address that they are going to want to have all of their correspondence to go to. So hopefully they have one that they're able to get into and that they can check after graduation or whenever they need to come in here. But so the system, how the system works is they're going to put in their email address here. It's going to send them a link to their email, and then we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, so when they get into, they'll get the email. They're going to click on the link, which is going to bring them into the actual application. And just to let you know that we encourage that the students complete this application on their own. However, parents are able to do so for them, a parent or a guardian. But when they're doing the applicant sign-in, we want them to use, again, the email address that they want all the correspondence to go to. If they want it to go to the student, they'll need to put in the student's email address. If they want it for the parent, they'll have to put in the parent address. Next slide, please. Okay, so once they do that, they're going to get the sign-in link. All they do is click on the sign-in link and it'll bring them into the application process. And here's where they're going to confirm the following information. So they're going to enter in the student's name. So this is where we always want to have the student's name, not whoever's completing the application for them. So student's name, the email they want all the correspondence to go to, and the phone number is optional. They do not have to put that in, but they do need to check that box saying that they agree to the terms of the services, and then click continue. Next slide. Okay, so then it's going to bring them into this application portal. To the left, they'll have their profile. Log out is there on the left. There's only going to be one application in here. And so since this is brand new, they click on Start New Application. Next slide. And here they're going to get some details about the program, what the WA grant is, and about the application process. And what's important to understand is that this is only required of the students going through this early path to WA grant. If any other students who are not in this pathway ask about this application, they do not need to complete this application. We don't want people to get through this and be like doing something unnecessarily. So the other students will go through the regular process by doing a financial aid application, which automatically gets them considered for Washington College Grant. So in this application process, they're just going to answer a few questions. We're telling them their data is secure. They'll get a decision by email. Our aim is to be able to respond to them within 5 business days. They should get an answer. And just a little bit of an explanation about how other ways to access WA grant. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so these are the questions. It's just going to tell them welcome, and they're going to begin their application, and it just basically starts with some personal information. Next slide. They're just asking if it's if the student is applying for the through this application or if the parent is doing it for them. This is where they would click I am applying on behalf of my child, and then when they click that button, it will ask for the parent's details. But if they're putting in I am applying for myself, they're going to enter in all of their information here. Their legal name doesn't require a middle name, but first and last name. Next. We're going to ask what gender, or sorry, what grade they're in. And so since this year is the pilot year, it will show all of the grades here, 10th, 11th, and 12th. They need to choose senior 12th grade, or else it will not allow them to continue on. They'll be encouraged to come back and complete it when the new application cycle opens. So when they click senior year, it's going to bring them into asking them their date of birth and their social security number or ITIN. Next, please. We're going to ask them what their school district is, what the name of their school is. They're going to type in there and what month and year are they expecting to graduate high school. So that part is the important part because this is where we are going to be determining when they will receive the benefits. So if they say they're graduating in June through August, they will get the full academic year following high school graduation. If it is later in the year or they go earlier in January, then they will get the remainder of the year plus the following year. So it's very important that we get their accurate graduation date here. Next slide. We ask, what is your gender? What is your race and ethnicity? Both of those are optional questions. They can choose not to answer them. Next. And finally, we ask them to upload a file to verify their current benefit status. So here we make it as easy as possible. They can do a PDF, they can do a copy of their letter, they can do a snapshot, a photo, but they do need to upload documentation, either of their SNAP FAP confirmation letter, and it needs to have the student's name on there. The application will say if it's for the parent, but it will also list all the family members who are covered in it. Or they can also put a snapshot of their benefit portal. So either way to get those documents uploaded, they would do that here, save and continue. And let's go to the next slide, please. So here are two copies of sample documents. So on the right-hand side, that's the DSHS letter. And as you can see, their name is there. On the left-hand side, that is a copy of their portal. So those are two sample items that they can upload. Next, please. And then finally, they just have to review the information that they put in there. If they need to edit, there's a little edit button up there on the right-hand corner of the screen, and then they just continue. Next slide. Yeah. And here we just ask them to confirm and state that, what they entered is true and correct. And then we just thank them for applying and they log out. So it's very simple, very quick. Should not take more than 10 minutes. If they have any difficulties with the application, technical difficulties with the application, we ask them to contact us. As you can see on this confirmation email that they'll receive, it does have our link to our email address, which is the finaid@wasac.wa.gov. And anybody who is on will be able to assist the students and walk them through the process if they need the help. Okay, and next slide, please. And so finally, after their documents are reviewed and it's been determined if they are eligible, they will be approved. They will receive this nice email that's congratulating them and explaining what their benefits are. And then they also receive a certificate signed by the governor. So it's an official certificate showing that they are in the Early Path to WA grant. It is not necessary for them to use this certificate to show it to financial aid offices or anybody. It's simply for them as an encouragement to move forward with the Early Path. Can we go to the next slide, please, real quick? I have no more. Okay, so actually, if you can go back, just wanted to give a little update. So after this has been approved, what happens is this information will be transmitted to our internal student information system that the colleges, the financial aid colleges access. And so when they start doing awarding, they'll be able to identify the students who qualify under the Early Path to WA grant. And this is where they will be able to award their students the Maximum Washington College grant. Most of the time, students will have a FAFSA or WASFA, so it'll be easy for the schools to identify them. However, if they do not do a FAFSA or a WASPA, we do encourage students to do some self-advocating and talking to their financial aid office to alert them that they are in this program. And to keep in mind, right now, some schools have already started awarding. And so if students have not yet done this, which they haven't because it's so new, they will get their awards and may not have the full Washington College grant. So in those cases, we really want to encourage the students to go through the process, upload their documents, and get them in so that they will be re-evaluated and re-awarded the maximum Washington College grant. If there are any issues with their application, we will communicate with them directly with email and work with them to get the application process completed as smoothly as possible. So that is the end of the student process for the early grant portal. Are there some questions that I can answer in the chat?
Yeah, Gabi, so first of all, I know was shared in the chat, and we are recording this, and we'll have the slides shared out afterwards. But could you please, Christina, could you go back to the slide that shows the website for the application, just so everybody has that on hand? I'm sorry. It's been asked.
There it is, right at the top.
Yeah, right at the top of that page on the blue section. So you all have that for reference. Again, like I said, we will be sharing all this out. We're also working on a frequently asked questions that we'll be sharing out when those are complete as well. I think that seems to be the only thing. There is a bit of confusion. This has been kind of a recurring question. Oh, I know. We do have one question that is really important that I want to address first is if they graduate, there's a school that graduates in February. So if they do that, do they have the rest of that school year and the following school year to use it? So could you clarify that, please? Because we've been asked a couple times about how long they have to use it. Like, can it be used all the way for the degree? Is it just that 1 year? How does that work?
So if they graduate with the traditional class, which is summer, right? End of the traditional college, high school year, then they get that year right after they graduate, right? So if they graduate in 2026, so the students that are graduating this year in 2026, June, will be able to start the first summer term of 2026 and for the 26-27 academic full year. So students who graduate early, they will get, like I said, January, February, they will get the rest of because they're coming in on the okay, I'm trying to get this right, what year that they're graduating. So the traditional student graduates in August of 2026. And so are we saying somebody who graduates February 27 or February 26?
I'm not sure. There
Okay.
wasn't clarification on that. I'm sorry. But
Yeah,
let's
no,
just say let's just say it's February of 26 just for ease of use because that's the year we're in. So let's just say February. They've already graduated this February 2026. When do they have to use it? Can they use it if they go right away this year, or do they have to wait until the fall? And do they only have that year 26, 27 of the fall starting?
Yeah, they can start. Okay, so if we're February, so right now colleges are in their spring terms, right? So this academic year is almost over. So those students wouldn't get a full year if they started right after they graduated, correct? And so we want to make sure that the students do have a full year after they graduate high school. So if they started this spring, they technically will have into the next year because that would only give them one term, right? Unless they do summer as well. So they would get the remainder of this academic year plus the following academic year.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. I think that's what they were asking because they said early February 26th or even earlier December 2025. They did clarify. So I hope that answers the question. If not, please reach out to us directly. We're going to provide our email addresses at the end. There will be an email address to reach out to the team that oversees this. So please reach out with your questions if that didn't clarify for you. Thank you. So the
Okay,
one that seems to be a lot of confusion is, and I don't know if we want to just address this in our FAQs or a different way, but how is this different than doing the FAFSA or WASFA? How is there a benefit to this versus doing the FAFSA or WASFA? Is it just early awareness or are they actually receiving WA grant? That sort of thing. We're getting a lot of questions about that.
okay, so I will address that. It is early awareness, of course, and the benefits of this program, if they do not do the FAFSA or WASFA, which in most cases they will, but it's alleviating the stress on the students of saying, like, I got to get this FAFSA done, or else I'm not going to get Washington College Grant. And having this guarantee, they can rest assured that they are going to get Washington College Grant if they go through the process and know that they're going to have it regardless of what their FAFSA or WASFA says. And so again, we really want them to do a FAFSA or WASFA, especially if they want to get like college bound, because college bound does have a requirement that they have to have a 65% MFI, median family income level, correct? And so if you don't do a FAFSA or WASFA, you cannot get college bound. And so the benefits for the students, if they don't do the WASFA or FAFSA, they will get Washington College Grant, maximum award amount. But they will get more if they do the FAFSA or the WASFA.
Thank
So
you,
that is what the
Gabby.
benefits are. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so one more, I'm so sorry. One more clarification on that February graduation question. So does that mean they would get more quarters than other students because they would actually get spring, summer, and then the whole following school year?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
We did not want to short anybody, is what it came down to. You know, we wanted to err on making sure that they did have a full year. And the
Okay.
students, students will have the opportunity to do summer one, fall, winter, spring, and, semesters. So it's up to them how many terms they're going to use within that year, right?
Okay. And just for because I'm thinking of this question and as I'm reading these, how long does it take to process this application so that they could start in the spring possibly, maybe, or something like that?
Yeah, so we are going to be going through these applications as they come in, and we have a goal of making sure that they are approved or denied, reviewed within 5 business days.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions. Shannon and Carly have been great about answering the other ones in the chat, so thank you.
Okay, I do see one that I would like to address.
Okay.
There's a question that said, should I have my seniors who have already received partial WA grant awards from colleges submit the BEAM application to get the WA grant fully awarded? And is the full WA grant award only for this year or for future years? So yes, if you have seniors who who have already been awarded, please encourage them to get their applications in as soon as possible. And since this is so new and we haven't had any applications yet, we are, working through all of it with our IT and communicating with our financial aid offices. So the sooner that we can get students' information in here, the sooner we can get them to the colleges. And you can have the students reach out to us, reach out to their financial aid offices, so we can work together with the financial aid offices to make sure that the students do get their full award that they are entitled to. So with that, thank you, and I will bring it back to Sarah.
Thanks so much, Gabi and Rochelle, for facilitating the questions and things. We've got again, we're going to be developing an FAQ, working on that, and so a lot of these questions, it's really helpful for us to hear kind of where the confusion points or question points come up. So really appreciate all of the great engagement and questions. Thank you so much. And so on the next slide, please, I just want to highlight a couple of resources should you have questions or resource needs, things like that. The Washington College Grant and General Financial Aid line you can access through the WASAC toll-free line. And this email address, finaid@wasac.wa.gov, is for students and families or you all who may have specific questions around the program or getting students awarded their aid. If you're looking for, excuse me, resources or additional context or anything like, flyers or trying to find that, our college access team through that email address can help you navigate and provide that information as well. On the next slide, please. Just some additional resources and a final link to the where the early path to WA Grant is located. We've got the link right there, WCG/path. The FAQ will be coming soon. On our WASAC Financial Aid Toolkit, we have an early path flyer available in both English and Spanish. And once we send out this deck and the recording, you'll get a link to that. It's a hyperlink there, but if you've known it's accessible via the WASAC homepage. So there are flyers both in English and Spanish available. And just a reminder again for program guidance, finaid@wasac.wa.gov, or outreach support or trying to find a resource or need a resource, you can find out from us at cas@wasac.wa.gov. So really appreciate that. And I think we've got a few more minutes we could take some questions.
Thank you, Sarah. We've had a few more. So someone asked, just to be clear, doing the FAFSA is still the preferred method to maximize grant benefits. And I think I can confidently say yes, that is the preferred method, the FAFSA or the WASFA. The WASFA will, just be those state programs, but the FAFSA will get them the federal and state aid. And then they want to know if we have a flyer that we're going to be sharing out or that they can share out with their families and students.
Yeah, that's on that financial aid toolkit webpage. I'm just pulling up let's see if I can get the link here real quickly, and I'll drop it in the chat.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
And then someone did ask, Christina, if we could share that last slide one more time, please, thank you. So there's that information if you need to jot that down. Again, we will be sharing the slides after the presentation in the next few days. So kind of the similar questions, can this be used multiple years? Do they have to reapply each year? And then once they qualify once, will that qualification be waiting for them when they start college, or do they have to do it again their senior year? So I think both of those kind of apply to the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, the 10th and 11th graders when we get to that point.
Gabi, would you mind coming on and addressing that one for us?
Yeah, I may need to have Shannon help out with this one, but currently, again, there's still some discussions about how many years the students are going to be qualifying for. If it turns out that they will only get 1 year, then if they apply during any one of those 3 years, their sophomore, junior, or senior year, they do not have to do it again in their senior year. As long as they register for it and are confirmed, they will get the 1 year. Now, if it turns out that they will be getting more years than that, then they would have to qualify each year that they want to qualify for. But currently it is just, for the seniors, our pilot year, we're still figuring things out. So at this point in time, seniors will need to apply and they will get it for this year. When it expands, they won't have to keep applying unless it becomes more than 1 year eligibility.
Thank you.
And the students also need to use it within 1 year of graduation.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments on that? Because we do have one more question. Okay, the last question that we have is, oh, I guess we have a couple. Oh, I think Sarah actually answered it. Never mind. You answered it in the chat, Sarah, so thank you. The question was, if they've already hosted their FAFSA WASFA events, will the students miss out on the full funding this year if they don't complete the BEAM forms? And so Sarah did answer it. I don't know if we want to answer it out loud too, but.
Hey, Gabi, if you're able, just the final question in the chat here about the years of use for students who may attend a university, having the 1 year, kind of talking about through that a little bit would be great to wrap us up.
Yes,
No problem. So for if they're having okay, so the guarantee through this early path is just stating that they are income qualified for the Washington College grant. So for 1 year of after high school, they will be guaranteed, income guaranteed for the full Washington College grant award amount, whether they do a FAFSA or WASFA or not. Okay. So after that, they will still be considered for Washington College grant after they do the FAFSA and the WASFA. They just will not have the guarantee that they're going to have the maximum award amount. However, these populations we do know are, do have the lower incomes and will most likely still continue to get a maximum Washington College grant moving forward based on the income information they put on their FAFSA or WASFA. So it's not like it's just going to disappear. It's just that guarantee without having to do a FAFSA or WASFA for the maximum for that first year is the benefit for this program. Does that help explain, Diana? Or Dawn? Sorry, I think that was from Dawn. Okay, so financial aid offices will be logged. Okay, so there's a question here asking if the financial aid offices are going to be logging into BEAM for each student to see if they qualify. No, that is not how it works. We are going to be transferring the information that the students put into the BEAM platform. That's going to feed into our Washington Student Achievement Council financial aid database. And this is the information that all the financial aid offices access to do their state awarding. So when they enter the awards into our system, it's going to automatically flag the students. They also will be able to search the students through our system to see if they qualify. They're not going to see anything more than stating that these people have been approved for the Early Path to WA grant.
Great. Thank you, Gabi. And I know we're at time, so I want to just thank everybody for your engagement and the great discussion and questions. We will be working on finalizing that FAQ document as soon as possible, and we'll let everybody know once that happens. We'll also be sending out within the next few days, excuse me, probably early next week, a recording link to this presentation with the deck and the link that was in the chat about the handouts and a reminder of the Early Path website, all the good stuff. But please, please, please reach out to us with questions or ideas or concerns. I think that this final note from Karen in the chat, what action would you most like to see from us? Great way to end the power of the webinar. I think the best action we can ask of you all is to spread the word about this, especially to your students who don't have finalized plans for next year or haven't done the FAFSA application, to really ensure that they get the most updated information and know that this early path to WA Grant is available to them to hopefully then inspire them to be that catalyst for them to complete a FAFSA or WASFA and get even more aid for next fall. And so that's what we would love. And if you need additional resources, reach out to us, or different languages for flyers, things like that. We can certainly help with that. So with that, thank you so much for your partnership, your collaboration. Gabi, thank you for all the questions, and everybody. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. We'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, all.